having started our long-haul operation, what drove us to start our long-haul operation was the OFWs in Dubai. And because it is a significant OFW market for us, there is an opportunity for us also to serve that market. And yeah, so that's the main driver.
I think the supply, what we've guided we recently had an investor call. We do think the supply chain challenges have improved, no? They've gotten better. But I think earlier this year we had up to 14 aircraft that were AOG because of the Pratt & Whitney challenges. No? But that number is actually shrunk this December, no? to I think less than double digits now. The supply chain issues will continue on, we think, maybe for the next couple of years. So what we have guided the market is we do think we'll continue to grow, but maybe in the range of we did say to the market we probably will grow next year within the range of 6 to 10%. Now that could change. If the Pratt & Whitney situation improves, we do think there could be capacity for more growth moving forward. But it is something that we have to continue to work with the OEMs like Pratt & Whitney and Airbus with continuously. And over time we think it will resolve itself, but we do think it'll be a problem, not a problem, but a challenge that we'll have to deal with over the next couple of years. Next year, I think we have 7 aircraft that are arriving, 5 of which are narrow bodies and 2 of which are wide bodies. So 2 330s, I forget lang the 5, it's going to be all 320s or 321s. It'll be a mix of the narrow bodies. Too early. Too early. We'll have to share it sabay ng JG. Okay.
I think a lot of different steps, no? One of which is to ensure that we have spare coverage. It's one of those things that we invest in, to have more spares to operate, to support our network. That's one.
Yeah, I think so. One of the on-time performance can be quite tricky in that sense. No? So Candice has mentioned that we have invested in additional standby aircraft, no? Because partly, we are the largest Airbus operator here in the country. We're the largest Pratt & Whitney operator here in the country. Given the, sensitivity with the Pratt & Whitney issues, we need to make sure that in case, aircraft do get impacted by these issues, we're able to, replace them relatively quickly. Now, not all, factors with regards to on-time performance are because of the airline. There's also, challenging weather events. There's also, I think earlier this year, the authority was making a lot of repairs in a lot of the airports throughout the country. And given that we are the largest operator, a repair in a specific, environment will actually impact us the most. No? So for example, we're talking about runway repairs in, say, places like Zamboanga, or Iloilo, or Davao, or Clark. By the way, which we quite welcome. Don't get us wrong, we do want to see the infrastructure improve, but having said that, because of these, repairs, there will be some impact to the operation. Now, that's not to say that the team hasn't invested in additional standby aircraft, but what we've also done is to make sure that our passengers are well taken care of. It's communicated to them that in case there is a delay or there is a disruption, that we're able to make sure that this is well communicated to them. In fact, on board, one of the things we get a lot of commendations for is our pilots actually actively communicate what's happening on the runway, because as a passenger, you don't necessarily see what's going on. You just see your window, you see what's parang going on around you, but you don't necessarily see what's happening in front of you. Ilan yung ilan yung naka-line up in front of you, diba? And it's great that the pilots actually give the updates, because as a passenger, you feel really comfortable that someone in authority is actually speaking and giving you updates throughout this journey. So that's really part of it. So a lot of things are things that we can control, we'll try to control, but also really trying to update customers during the entire journey.
Pero happy kayo sa
There are a lot of factors that are beyond our control. So what we do is areas that are within our control. That's what we influence, no? So like standby aircraft, standby crew, optimizing the network, right? Many things, no? But for example, like any of the disruptions caused by weather or the typhoons we've seen over the past months, those are things that are beyond our control. So what we focus on is how do we make sure we're able to recover immediately and fly people to their destinations safely.
And I think maybe one of the things we need to look at again, ultimately a lot of it has to do with really infrastructure. If you take a look at maybe other airports throughout the world that are Manila is a very busy airport, right? And actually there are many busy airports throughout the world, whether it's Shanghai, Hong Kong, Heathrow. There can be challenges in operating in these airports. New York in LaGuardia, for example, can be quite, how do I call this, challenging from an on-time performance for all of the airlines operating out of that airport. So it really does depend. So it's really between the community to make sure that operation becomes good enough for our customers. That's a good question though. Let me take the first one. So what we said to the market was we think next year will probably grow between 6 to 10% from a seats perspective, 2026 versus 2025. This year, 2025 versus 2024, we expect to grow anywhere between 10 to 12%. The AOG count for next year can be quite fluid, so we don't necessarily give out that guidance, but we do give out the guidance in terms of total capacity growth instead. So it could improve, it could get better, but given the fluidity of the supply chain issues, that's the guidance we normally provide, which is seat growth.
Magiging free din ba similar to the 9 months report?
Pardon?
Magiging free din ba yung kasi magiging free yung dun sa Pratt and Whitney? Di ba you booked like 6 billion from the Pratt?
You're talking about the FOC engines.
Yeah.
That's a different, I guess, transaction altogether. So these are just, normal BAU deliveries.
Less on the number of passengers, no? It's really about the number of flights. We're operating close to 550 flights a day already. And this is not just Manila, this is across the network, no? Where you saw then that we're growing our network out of Clark, Cebu, Iloilo, Davao. And so how we're preparing, a lot of the preparations from the teams started noong November pa, no? And so making sure that aircraft are maintained, that one is regular practice naman, and that we have enough manning to support the fleet and the network, sending reminders to passengers to check in online. This is that's part of the preparations, and of course working with our ground handlers and airport authorities to prepare for the coming peak. In fact, last weekend pa lang, nasabihan na kami, it's already peak na, no? Last week pa lang. So, that's how we're prepared.
Pero Raul, kasi yung slots in Manila are limited, no? We are hopeful that as part of the concession agreement between the private concessionaire and the government, that I think the agreement says the government has to bring up the total slots of Manila from, I think, currently from 42 movements per hour to 48 movements per hour. So we are looking forward to that improvement, but I think that improvement actually necessitates a couple of things, no? The building of terminals, the creation of new taxiways, And I think NNIC is on its way to developing that. So I think it's premature for now to think about new slots. Right now, we're trying to optimize the existing slots that the airport has. So if there is an opportunity to get new slots, Cebu Pacific as well as other airlines are trying to get those. No? It's not necessarily related po kung maganda ang OTP o pangit ang OTP. It's really talagang limited po yung total number of slots ngayon sa airport. Para pong sa Heathrow, para pong sa Shanghai, para pong sa Hong Kong. It's a lot of the airports in Asia are actually, and in some parts of the world are actually slot constrained. So once mag-improve yung slots, we're hopeful that we can get a fair share of those increased slots.
And maybe in the meantime, how we're growing our capacity out of Manila is through upgauging of aircraft. No? So if you recall, early this year, we moved our ATR operations. These are the 72-seater aircraft to Clark. And the slots that the ATRs vacated, of course, we started operating with our jets. No? So you're talking about a 72-seater, now from a 200, 300-seater to a 400-seater na yung capacity niya. No? So I think there are a lot of things that need to happen before we talk about the slots. There are areas where we can optimize further. And really a lot of credit going to NNIC on the improvements done on the terminals. And these are, I guess, this is years of underinvestment that we need to give time for it to build also. No? So yeah. I think if there's anything we'd like to give credit to is really the level of collaboration we have with the airport authorities. Not just in Manila, it's really across the network.
Follow.
Raul, we want it all, no? But that's, that's syempre as an airline, the more slots you have in an airport like Manila, the better. But we work under certain rules and guidelines that the airport operates under. So we have to abide by those rules and guidelines. And I think Manila, like many other airports throughout the world, follows the IATA Worldwide Slot Guidelines, which is really apportioned. No? So 50% of any new slots goes to existing operators, 50% of new slots goes to new entrants. So we have to abide by those rules. So kahit gustuhin man namin, kunin lahat, hindi po mangyayari yun. But having said that, we are looking forward to the improvement of the infrastructure in Manila. But we're also cognizant of the fact that, Manila, ang nakalagay po sa concession agreement is up to 62, 63 million pax. No? Last year, ang dumaan po sa Manila Airport, 50 million na po. Right? So, meron pong limitation. Right? It will only go maybe up to 62, 65 million. Really, the next game changer for the National Capital Region will really be Bulacan, right? If that opens and that airport is, supposedly up to 100 million passengers per annum, that will relieve a lot of the slot pressure and a lot of the capacity pressure that airlines are feeling today. And that's what we look forward to. By the way, we don't expect that on year one, Bulacan will be 100 million capacity airport, but you know what? If it's going to be 15 million or 20 million in year one, I think a lot of the airlines, especially ourselves, will be excited. And that's really part and parcel of our aircraft order that we did last year.